Lucy Thompson's morning began like thousands of others, the familiar ritual of brewing tea in a kitchen filled with the comforting aroma of home. She absentmindedly watched as the dark tea leaves surrendered their rich color to the boiling water, unaware that this day would herald a nightmare. Her son, Aaron, had not returned home for the third night in a row, but Lucy tried to push away her anxious thoughts. He had always been a bit distant, lost in his own world, and while his late-night outings were rare, they did happen. But today, something felt off. Deep within her mother's heart, an icy lump of inexplicable fear had settled. It wasn't just concern for her adult son, it was a sharp, almost physical sensation, as if a sinister shadow loomed over their home, foretelling something terrible that had already happened or was about to happen. The intuition, sharpened by a mother's love, screamed of trouble that Lucy could neither see nor comprehend just yet. The news about Marcus Bennett, Aaron's best friend since childhood, struck like the first rumble of thunder in a clear sky. He had not shown up for a meeting with Jessica, his girlfriend, which was completely out of character for him. Marcus had always been punctual and attentive to those close to him, so her concern quickly escalated into panic. Soon, her dark fears were confirmed by a chilling discovery. His car was found in a ravine on the outskirts of town. The wrecked vehicle, with its door ajar and keys left in the ignition, seemed to scream of the suddenness and unnaturalness of what had occurred. The atmosphere in the police station was heavy with dread. Jessica, devastated and frightened, wept inconsolably as she recounted their plans and how reliable and loving Marcus had always been. Against the backdrop of her despair, Aaron's silence stood out starkly. He sat like a statue, his face an unreadable mask. His gaze was fixed on nothingness, and no emotion reflected in the depths of his eyes. This silence weighed heavily on everyone present, breeding vague suspicions and amplifying the sense of impending doom. The childhood friendship between Aaron and Marcus was well known in their small town. They had been inseparable since preschool, sharing joys and sorrows, supporting each other in all endeavors. Now, one had vanished under mysterious circumstances, while the other maintained a sullen silence, as if behind a wall. To Jessica, this silence felt like betrayal, and to the investigators, it grew increasingly suspicious. The last time Marcus was seen alive was that evening when he and Aaron spent time together at Aaron's house. Lucy recalled the snippets of laughter and music drifting from the boys' room, the familiar sounds of a friendly gathering. Nothing foreshadowed the impending tragedy. Later, silence fell, and Aaron told his mother that Marcus had left alone, bidding farewell at the threshold. His words sounded calm and ordinary, but now, in light of recent events, every word, every inflection seemed suspicious, laden with hidden meaning. None of the neighbors had seen Marcus leave Aaron's house that night. No one noticed anything unusual. Only the morning discovery of the abandoned car in the ravine tore through the fabric of normalcy, exposing the gaping void of his disappearance. Aaron's account became the sole thread connecting the past to the present, but this thread felt thin and unreliable, ready to snap at any moment. Investigators tried to reconstruct the timeline of events from that evening, asking Aaron the same questions over and over again. Yet his answers remained sparse and unchanged. They drank, talked, and Marcus left alone. In his silence, there was a sense of either stubbornness or a deep internal struggle. He neither denied nor justified anything. He simply maintained a heavy silence that spoke more eloquently than any words could convey, hinting that something had gone terribly wrong that fateful evening. The doorbell rang sharply, shattering the ominous silence that had settled in the Thompson household after Marcus's disappearance. On the threshold stood two police officers with official badges. They presented a search warrant, explaining their visit as a formality, a necessary part of standard procedures. Their calm voices and reassurances that this was nothing serious could not deceive Lucy. A sticky, paralyzing fear had taken root in her heart, a premonition of trouble that grew stronger with each passing moment. She felt as if invisible, cold fingers were tightening around her insides. The officers methodically searched the rooms, peering into closets and checking drawers, leaving no detail overlooked. Lucy watched them, holding her breath, and her anxiety peaked when a police dog, which had been calmly sniffing around, suddenly growled, stopping near the wardrobe in Aaron's room. That low, guttural sound pierced the silence like an icy needle. In that moment, Lucy felt as if her heart had stopped. She didn't know what frightened her more, the discovery of any evidence confirming her worst fears, or the very fact of this sudden, inexplicable growl, which had become an ominous portent. A flicker of frightened understanding flashed in Aaron's father's eyes, but he quickly tried to mask his emotions. The atmosphere in the room thickened to a breaking point. It seemed even the air had become heavy and viscous. Lucy struggled against the urge to scream, to run away, desperate to escape what she felt was about to happen. In the dark corner of the closet, the officer discovered a small plastic bag containing marijuana. Aaron's face instantly flushed red spots. The father's previously restrained anger erupted in a sharp question. "Are you a drug addict?" A heavy, deafening silence fell in response. Aaron lowered his head, not uttering a word. This find, though not directly linked to Marcus's disappearance, cast a shadow over his character, creating an image of a person living a double life. But then the officer's attention was drawn to another item lying next to the bag of bloody bandage. The dried brown blood stood out starkly against the white fabric. When directly questioned by the investigator, Aaron mumbled that he had cut himself. However, his hands were completely intact, without a single scratch. This contradiction became an obvious lie, ringing out like an alarming signal, a lie that could be concealing something far more terrifying than just an accidental cut. The discovered evidence, seemingly insignificant on its own, began to paint a troubling picture. Drugs, silence, the unexplained disappearance of a friend, and now a bloody bandage with no visible wounds. A sense of dread began to take root in Lucy and her husband's eyes, a horror they had been reluctant to acknowledge until now. Each new detail, each lie from Aaron, plunged them deeper into a chasm of despair and fear for their son's future. The lab results confirmed their worst fear. The blood on the bandage was Marcus Bennett's. The news hit the Thompson household like a death sentence. Lucy's eyes locked onto her son's face, searching for denial, for an explanation, but Aaron's gaze held no fear, no protest. He didn't resist, as the cuffs closed around his wrists. He stood silent, head bowed, as if submitting to fate. When they led him away, Lucy screamed a raw, guttural sound that echoed down the street. Aaron only glanced at her once. Not fear. Not a plea for help. Just eerie detachment and something else. Resolve. Like he knew something. Something heavy. Something that kept him silent. That look terrified her more than the handcuffs. There was no remorse in it. Only a quiet certainty that made her blood run cold. His father stood frozen, voiceless. The air hung thick with silence, broken only by Lucy's sobs. Then Aaron was gone, leaving behind emptiness and questions with no answers. The trial passed in a haze. Aaron's defense was weak, his lawyer half-hearted. The blood evidence was damning. The drugs found in his room painted him as unreliable. His own confused testimony and his stubborn silence during key moments sealed his fate. Guilty. 25 years. The gavel's crack split the courtroom. Lucy collapsed onto the bench as if the floor had vanished beneath her. 25 rang like a gunshot, ending the life she knew. Aaron didn't flinch. His face stayed blank, unreadable. But for Lucy, this was the start of a new hell of life, branded mother of a murderer, an endless ache in her chest. Prison didn't just punish Aaron, it hated him. His case made him a pariah, a black man in a system steeped in racial divides, a drug dealer, thanks to the cops' planted evidence. But the real venom came from the other label, killer of his own friend, traitor, rat, backstabber. The whispers followed him in the chow hall, the yard, his cramped cell. The assaults were relentless. Stolen belongings, ruined meals, shoulder checks sharp enough to bruise. They wanted him broken. To confess, Aaron retreated inward. The resolve Lucy had seen at his arrest was gone. Now his eyes held only hollow doubt. The days dragged, and the question festered. What if they're right? What if I belong here? A handful of inmatesmen who'd been wronged by the system themselves watched him with silent sympathy, but their pity drowned in the sea of hatred. He was alone, buried alive under the weight of a crime he didn't commit. 5 years in, hope was nearly dead, then a slip of the tongue. Late one night, Aaron overheard a new inmate bragging. That Mark who drove Dean had it coming, pulled a knife after I busted his teeth. Aaron's pulse spiked. A knife. Marcus's murder weapon never found. And a name, Dean. A name from old news reports that summer Marcus vanished. For the first time in years, something flickered in Aaron's chest, not despair, but purpose. Dean. A small-time robber active in their neighborhood back then. Cops had dismissed him too focused on Aaron. Now, this thread could unravel everything. Aaron dug carefully. He befriended Rico, the bragging inmate, playing the eager listener. Rico was wiry, volatile, but he hated Dean. That snake set me up, he'd snarl. Aaron saw his opening. Testify against Dean, he offered, and I'll get your sentence reduced. Rico spat at first, but the bait was too sweet revenge on the man who'd screwed him. Fine, he finally hissed. Let him burn. A deal with the devil. but Aaron's only shot. The Marcus Bennett case reopened. Rico's testimony cracked it wide open. Dean had been seen arguing with Marcus near where his car was found. A witness recalled a knife matching Rico's description. Marcus's watch identified by Jessica spotted on Dean's accomplice. The motive? An old debt. The trial dragged. But the jury's doubt turned to certainty. Then the verdict. In light of new evidence, the court recognizes a miscarriage of justice. Aaron Thompson is innocent. A muffled gasp filled the room. Lucy, sitting in the same spot as 5 years ago, heard the words like an answered prayer. Tears of relief streamed down her face. Justice finally. After 5 years, Aaron came home. The house smelled of cinnamon, Lucy's favorite spice, baked into the walls. She crushed him in an embrace, clinging as if he might vanish. No words. Just pain, forgiveness, unconditional love. His father stood apart, silent. Then 3 weighted words. Forgive me, son. The silence in the house wasn't suffocating now. It was healing. Aaron relearned freedom, sunlight on skin, rain against windows, home-cooked meals. He felt untethered, like a man returned from war. But his family's love slowly anchored him back to life. Aaron trained as a counselor. His ordeal gave him insight into others' suffering. He wanted to give hope to the broken. Miraculously, Jessica forgave him. Their reunions were painful but healing. They moved, started fresh. A dog came first, then a son. Aaron often watched his baby sleep, marveling that this child would never know the hell he'd endured. The thought brought pain and gratitude. He vowed his son would grow up in a world where justice wasn't just a word. Now Aaron speaks at schools, telling his story. Innocence isn't always a scream. Sometimes it's silence that you have to fight to break. He shares how shock kept him mute, how silence nearly killed him. Then, gesturing to his son in the audience, I stayed quiet. Then I spoke. For him. In that gesture, all the strength of his fight, all the depth of his love, and the hope that future generations will speak against injustice. His story is proof. After the darkest night, dawn comes if you keep fighting.